What's up, everybody? It's your boy Season. So today we're going to be taking a look at Dino Geist from Kotobukiya. He is the main villain from Exkizer. So we will be taking a look at that today. I'm not going to waste any more time, so let's go. Okay, so let's open up this bad boy. See what we got. Move this box to the side here. So of course I have not built this yet, but of course that's the manual there. All right. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. I got a QR code. I imagine this is probably for replacement parts. I haven't done the translation on this or, looked it up to see what this is actually, because this was actually in the Super Build Tiger one as well. So, but I imagine this is probably for parts and stuff. So you got that. All right. So let's take a look at some of these parts here. So, and I mean, I've said this quite often, but this is pretty much just for this kit is not like a Bandai kit. It's relatively easier to build. Also, they use a different plastic. I think that they use ABS plastic versus the plastic that Bandai uses. I think this one is a little bit softer, and most of the time they usually are more of a matte finish than anything else. So but yeah, I'm not really a super big fan of Dino Geist. I mean, he was okay in the show. But in this show, pretty much all of the villains were pretty much based off of the old G1 Dinobots. So the majority of those were based off of those. So it's just like a different take. All right, so I'm not seeing anything too crazy. All right. Yeah, nothing too crazy at all. But yeah, this actually came out in December, which is last month. And so I was able to get it roughly around the beginning of the month. And, thanks to Hobby League Japan. I think that was where I ordered this one from. They got it to me relatively quick. So usually for my stuff, it's usually just easier to go through Hobby League Japan. They may not be necessarily the cheapest, even though most of the time they are for the most part. But all right, looks like we got the face there. So, and those are already pre-done, so that helps. And I think that was for Exkizer there. And yeah, so I always use them. I usually go to them first and see if they've got it, because their shipping tends to be pretty fair. Getting stuff out of Japan can be kind of a hassle just because it costs so much to ship it back to the States. But okay, so that's what we've got for the parts. So let's take a look at the manual. Next, let's take a look at the manual here. So of course, this is the box art that was on the box. So great work by Kotobukiya on that. So of course, this is that list. I am going to find out what that actually is though. So of course, this is all in Japanese. This is your parts counts here for all your runners. All right. So we've got that there. And yeah, the thing about this one, I actually am looking forward, and I hope that all the articulation is kind of like how they did with Build Tiger. Because Build Tiger, I was really impressed with how they did the articulation for that one. So hopefully they'll incorporate that in all their other kits going forward. So I'm not seeing anything that's too crazy here. And usually when I build these, it takes roughly maybe about, 2 or 3 hours max. It doesn't really actually take that long. And also with these kits versus like a Bandai kit, because they do a lot of heavy detailing on Bandai kits, it's not a bad thing. I actually prefer a lot of details, but these is kind of more like the original design, and the original design wasn't really that detailed. So I think that's a good thing for this. So of course we got the story here. We got some photo work here. And yeah, so I'm very interested to see how the articulation is like. You also got the stuff for Exkizer there. And then of course you got all your paint percentages and stuff like that there. So that's what we've got for the manual. Now let's get into the review. Next, I want to take you through some of his accessories. Now, with Dino Geist, he actually doesn't have that many accessories, okay? So the first thing he's got is... So first you have his shield, okay? So you've got that. He's got a handle for it. Nothing too crazy, but, you know, it's a basic shield. Next, he has his swords, okay? His twin dual blades. So he's got those. And that's pretty much it. Now... all of the stuff that he has on the right side of here, this is all for Great Exkizer. So of course you got a different head. So you've got a head for Exkizer. So of course this is to simulate the last episode in Exkizer when his faceplate gets broken. So you've got that there. You also have this mane. Now, based off of the video that we got that came out about, I don't know, 8 months ago or so, it looked like these were going to be like more rubber, but they're actually not. They are plastic. So that'll kind of give him some extra articulation that he needs. And then of course you've got the new hips for Great Exkizer as well. So you've got these. These are pretty much because the Great Exkizer was the first one that we got in this line that Kotobukiya made, and the hips on it are not very good. So I'm glad that they did a replacement for that. Now, they actually don't include the extended neck that we had got with Super Build Tiger. That one is not in this set. So it's just the replacement hips and the face for Great Exkizer. So we have that. Now, what I want to show you is... for his legs, and let's take this off just so it'll be easier to show you. All right, you have two pieces here for his legs, right? And if you look at this part here, this is actually quite long. Now they give you a short version and a long version, right? So the short version is about like that, and then the long version is quite a bit longer. That's just so you can get a little bit more articulation out of his leg. So they did give you 2 sets of these, of both of these. So, but the thing is, they only give you 1 set of like the little ball joint that goes around it. I wish they'd actually given you 2, because if they'd given you 2, then you could just literally pop this out and put this on. To where if I wanted to put the short one in, I'd actually have to pry this off and then put that in there. So I wish they had done that, but you do have 2 of those. And so that's kind of like a leg extension part for that. So next he has 5 sets of hands, okay? So what he's got... So of course these are your wide open hands. These are your semi-open hands. Okay. These are his either shield holding hands or sword holding hands, and you get another set of those as well. And then he's got the closed fist, of course, on him. And here is the other set of probably sword hands. So that's what he's got for hands. Now let me tell you about some of the issues that I had. Now, for a lot of the detail work that I do with a lot of kits, I usually use these like enamel Gundam marker pens. And these are like, they're enamel, so they're not like the draw ones like you're using a pencil. The thing about these is, since it uses enamel is a very harsh paint, and these can actually eat your plastic if you're not careful. Now, I've used these pens with every Brave kit that I've had. Those are ABS plastics, and those tend to be a little bit softer plastic than I think like the polystyrene that I think Bandai uses, even though they've eaten through my Bandai ones as well. That doesn't happen as much anymore, but it does still happen. But with this one, I had an issue to where it was eating through them. And let's see. And if you look at the thumb right there, I know it's kind of hard to get an angle of it. You can see that a piece of that has come off. And what that is because that actual ink has actually ate through that plastic. Now, I think that's because just how you join these two together is kind of like the hand is sliced in half and you kind of like put them together. And I think what happened is ink got in there and it just weakened the plastic. But that has happened with almost all of the white hands that I've had. You'll see like these small like micro fractures, and that's what that is. And so you definitely want to be careful. Now, normally in order to combat that on most kits, especially if you don't plan on painting them, is to do a clear coat on them first. I just don't do that because we're in the middle of winter right now. So unfortunately I I can't actually do a clear coat outside because that's where I would need in order to ventilate it. But so unfortunately, like on a lot of my hands for Dino Geist, he's got small micro fractures, and actually the ink kind of, because of those micro fractures, the ink is kind of going all over the place. So it's not as refined as far as my detail work is concerned, but that can happen. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that you definitely probably just want to either use the regular Gundam marker pens, but not the enamel ones, because they will eat through this plastic. Didn't have a problem with any of my other Brave kits, but for whatever reason with the white plastic on these, it just does not like it. So so that's what you got for there. So now let's get into some articulation. Next, we're actually going to take a look at articulation. So for his articulation, what I did is I actually have one short version of the extenders on the right side and the regular version of the extenders on the left side. So even though that makes his balance a little unsettling, I wanted you to see how that looks as far as his hips are concerned. This hip is definitely sticking out a little bit wider than the right one. So that's what that extender will do. And actually, I think that's just to kind of give you a little bit more range of motion. But I will say that it looks awkward. It almost looks like he's got like female hips with that extender on. So I took it off just to see what it looked like on the right side. So I want to do that first. But of course, all right, so let's get into articulation. So for his head here, of course, he can go 360. Okay, so you can go up and down. Now, just due to this is kind of tight, but he does have a pretty good range of motion there. And then I don't think you're going to have any problems. That's probably the reason why they didn't put the neck extender in that one. You don't really need it for Dino Geist. So you've got that there. So that's what his head is. For his shoulder, now he has really long shoulders here, but he still does have a wide range of motion there. So he can go all the way up. You can bring that all the way down. Of course, he can go 360. Now, also with his chest part, actually, let me move this out the way real quick. With his chest piece, you can turn that 360, but like with most of them, they tend to want to unwind when you do that. So just be cognizant of that. It can do it, but just because of how that actual mechanism works in here, that will unwind when you want to do 360. But technically he can, because you can actually just move it that way. Okay, so you've got that. Now for his actual chest piece, these do move. Okay, so these will move. Those will get out of the way. If you want to do kind of like a double sword pose where his hands are close together, you can move these out of the way. So that's actually really good there. So you've got that. And then for his elbow, he does have a decent elbow bend here. Okay, so of course, if you want to get this out of the way, but he does have that there. So he's got a decent elbow bend there. All right, he also does have the wrist articulation here. Now, and then I actually had to put another set of hands on him because the other hands disintegrated. But yeah, they disintegrated. So definitely don't use those Gundam markers. But anyway, so what we've got here. So of course he does have our wrist articulation. So that's where you'll get that from. Now that's actually more like how Exkizer's was. So it's not actually that much. But, and also because he has like these wings part, because I think in the show he transformed into like a jet. So you've got kind of that in the way, but you still get a little bit out of there. You can still move the wrist up, back, and forward. This is actually one of the hands that did not melt. So, so you've got that for the arms. Now for the midsection, he actually does have he has the same articulation that Build Tiger had, just like the design here. You don't seem to have as much wiggle room here, but you still do get quite a bit. It can't really go through 360 just because of the side skirts. The side skirts are quite long, but you do get articulation out of there. So of course he can look up that way. He can look down that way. Okay, so he can do that. Okay, so that's where you got for the midsection. Now, for the legs or the thighs here, so he's got really long side skirts. So what I'm actually going to do is take those off because that does limit his range of motion here. Okay, so this of course has the short version of the leg extension part there. So of course that can go all the way up. So that's a little bit more than a 90-degree bend there. And then the front skirts do move, so you can move those up, and that will go up. Now, just due to the fact that he's got like claw things here, because he also was like almost like a T-Rex in the show. So he's got these claws here, so that'll hit this side skirt, but he can get upwards up to 90 degrees there. So he's got it like that. He does have a good knee bend there. Okay. And he also can move that back. Now this one wants to unwind because it's so short, but he can go all the way back as well there. Now for the back skirt, he doesn't really get that much. Like, he can't really move that. It does give you some wiggle room, but not a ton, right? So it can go up and back down like that. So that's what you've got for the side skirts and the front skirts. And we can put this back on. Now let's get to the ankles. Now the ankles are kind of interesting just because you can go up on them, because the way that this actually comes together is a little bit different than some of the other Kotobukiya Brave kits that I've seen. So you do have high up articulation, but almost no down articulation, right? You get a little bit, and then the back part doesn't really move either, just because of how that is made. So unfortunately, all the articulation is in the front, and I think they've done it better on other kits. But you've got that. You do have some side to side, but also he has really big feet. And these will hit the side. So unfortunately, you don't have a ton there. But so that's what you've got for articulation for the feet. So now that we're done with that, let's get into some size comparisons. Next, for size comparisons, of course, it wouldn't make sense to not have him without his rival, which is Great Exkizer. So as you can see, they are pretty similar in height. I would say, yeah, they're actually probably almost exactly the same. So you've got that one there. Let's bring out Super Build Tiger. Okay. So he's just a tad bit bigger. Okay. And then we've got, of course, one of my personal favorites, as I always say, the Bandai Firebird. And then we've got the alternative Destiny King Exkizer, and he might be the shortest out of all of them. So that's what you've got. So of course he will fit well on your Brave shelf. So what I'm going to do actually in the next segment, before we get to final thoughts, I'm actually going to put the extra parts that I got for Exkizer on. So let's do that next. Okay, so let's actually start putting this new stuff on Exkizer. So of course, first off, we're going to do the hips first. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to take all this stuff off of him. And let's get his hips out of here. He's got this big old sword. It's kind of a pain to take out, but we can actually take that off as everything goes flying. All right, so let's do this here, and then we can take his legs out. All right, and we'll take the midsection off. Okay, and then we'll have to take all of this off here. Okay, and then the side skirts here and here. All right, so that is his old one. Okay, so not too bad, but this is his new one there. Okay, so it should be relatively simple. The main difference is that they have the swing bar mechanism in here, so you can kind of get more articulation out of there. And that was almost the exact same one that we got with the J Decker with the Super Build Tiger, that they replaced the hip so he could do that. So that's really all the main difference between these two are. So all right, so we'll put the back skirt on. And that goes like that. Okay, so you actually do have a little bit more range out there, so that's good. Okay, and then we'll put the side skirts on. All right. And then, yeah, unfortunately, actually, this is probably the main reason I actually got this kit. I really don't care about Dino Geist all that much, but I wanted it for the extra parts for Exkizer, just because Exkizer, this was the first one that I built because it was the first one that was released. And this is actually probably one of my favorites from an aesthetic standpoint as far as Exkizer is concerned. So you've got that. Let's put his body back on. Oh yeah, he actually looks a lot better, just from an aesthetic standpoint, just with the legs and stuff, because you can kind of see that pose, and that pose looks a lot better than the other hips. So you've got that. He's also got his wide range of motion there, so as the back part falls off. But you know, so he's got a significant wide range of motion. So actually I like that. Now let's put on the head real quick. All right, so let's put the new head on. So of course this is his King Exkizer head. So we'll take the Great Exkizer head off, pull that off, pull that, put that back on like that. And so you've got that. So actually that looks pretty good. I actually do like that. So if you wanted to simulate the last battle between him and Dino Geist, you can do that. And then let's put on his mane real quick. All right, so let's put this on here. So of course this is gonna go and plug in almost the exact same way. But as you see how much more space you have to clear with his shoulder. You can kind of really get in there. So that's actually a really good update for him. Of course, his hand came off, but I can put that back on here. So you've got that, and then, so that's mainly for that pose, so you can actually get that shoulder, so the mane, because he's got a really big mane, and so that will give you that kind of space there that you need. So that's what you've got for that. Now, I'm not going to actually put the other one on. I'll actually put the original one back on, just because I don't usually do the Arbari pose just for with Exkizer, just because it takes a long time, because his hands, he's got really bad hands as well, as far as trying to get that actual particular pose. So that's what you've got. But yeah, that's what we wanted to see as far as the extra parts for Great Exkizer. I think the hips are good. I'm really glad that Kotobukiya actually does do that to kind of fix some of the problems that this guy had, because he had, like, his hips were really, really weak. I did actually do a review for him, but I actually never posted it. But I still have the video of it, so I may post it right after this one. But yeah, so that's what you've got for that. So now let's get into final thoughts. So last thoughts on this guy. You know, this is interesting because I'm not really a super big fan of Dino Geist. His design doesn't really call out to me. I really only got it for the Great Exkizer parts. But I think it is nice because we don't really get villains a lot in the model kit world, or the figure world for that matter. It's just, apparently from what I've read and what people have said about it online, is that mainly villain suits just don't sell well compared to the hero suits, and especially if it's geared towards children. That does kind of make sense. You know, the hero, the good guy, he's usually going to be the primary seller. But you know, for me, I think that it's still a good kit. There are some problems that I did have with it. Mainly, he just doesn't have that many accessories. You know, it is what it is with that. He's got a sword and shield. That's pretty much it. He does have like his guns on the knees that I actually didn't talk about in the review, but those can come out. You know, so you've got that, but like, he didn't have that many accessories, and then also his kind of articulation to me is almost a step backwards from Super Build Tiger, which is real strange to me, because like his inner skeleton or mechanisms that he uses for articulation is relatively the same, but I think maybe it's just the design itself, to where, like, you know, he had super big side skirts, you know, he's got the big like wing thing on the chest, and so therefore he doesn't really get as much articulation out of the inner mechanisms than, say, like Super Build Tiger. I thought Super Build Tigers was really well done. So those are my two main issues from him. But I think overall, oh, and one other thing, like, you know, also the problem that I had with his hands, that kind of took all my wind out of the sails of doing this kit, just because I started to notice that his hands were starting to literally melt. And when you use enamel paint, that is a risk that you run if you do not put a clear coat on it. And I actually did find out what this little sheet of paper is for, and this is to order parts. So if you do need a runner or something like that, you can just scan that barcode, and then you do have to pay, you know, probably for shipping or whatever, but you actually can get extra parts. However, as you see in here, it says for use only in Japan. So that sucks for me. I don't want to have to buy this kit over just to get more hands, but sometimes, because I know Kotobukiya does have a USA like main store, and I'll probably email them and see if I can get an extra runner for Dino Geist so I can fix his hands, because to me that is a sore thumb for him. But that's not really Kotobukiya's fault. That is just a problem that you run into with some model kits, whether it's plastic styrene like the Bandai ones, or you know, the ABS plastic that Kotobukiya uses. Sometimes they'll eat through it if you don't put a clear coat on there. So it's just part of the course. But anyways, out of 10, I'm gonna give him like an 8. I think that he's solid. If you are a super big fan of Dino Geist or just the Exkizer series, I think that this is actually a really good pickup. Now, I know like in some of the Brave communities that I'm in, they don't really like these models because they don't transform. Look, like for me, that's not really a bad point for me. I just wanted to look like it looked in the anime. If you are someone who actually wants them to transform, then this is not the series of models for you. Maybe Bandai in the future may possibly do a Dino Geist. They did do a Darius. And so, you know, it is possible that we may get one that transforms, but these Kotobukiya ones, they don't. But for me, I just wanted to look like it looked like in the anime. I think that the Kotobukiyas are successful in doing that. So yeah, if you're looking for one where it just has to transform, then yeah, this is a skip for you. But for me, it is a good one. Now, within the next month or two, we're actually supposed to be getting the golden version of Great Exkizer, and I do have that pre-ordered. Hopefully I will get it on time, as most of the things that have been coming out of Japan the last 2 or 3 months have been getting delayed. So I don't know what the issue is with that, but I've noticed even with that Go Lion that was supposed to come out, the Japanese version that was supposed to come out in October, that one still hasn't been released. Dagawan was supposed to come out last month. That one got pushed back to probably the end of this month, and it may get pushed back again. So that's unfortunate, but you know, things will go on. So that's what I've got for you today. So yeah, out of 10, I'm gonna give it an 8. I think 8 is a solid score. It's a fair score. And yeah, just be careful with the hands as far as detailing, especially if you're using enamel paint, because you definitely want to clear coat those. Because having the micro fractures in there it does look kind of ugly, and I don't really like that look. So I'll probably have to try to find that runner someplace else if I can't get it from Kotobukiya in the US. So that's what I've got for you today. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.